All right, all eyes on Battleground House seat in Michigan's 7th congressional district, previously held by Representative Alyssa Slotkin, who's now running for the U.S. Senate in Michigan. Our next guest represented Mid-Michigan in the state legislature for 7 years and just launched his second bid for the House seat. Tom Barrett joins us now. Tom, thanks for being here. This is one of the most competitive districts in the country, which makes it an important and helpful bellwether at the national level, not just for the presidential race, but for the future of the majorities in the House and Senate. What issues are animating voters the most for you?
Yeah, thank you, Pete, and thank you for having me on. Happy New Year. And you're right, this is already teed up as the most competitive congressional seat in the country. It's one that has a razor-thin partisan edge, really for no side or the other. And the biggest issues are the issues we're seeing across the country. National security, threats from China and other near-peer adversaries to the United States, border security with a surge in migrants coming across, making every community less safe, economic security, the cost of living, whether it's groceries, energy, home heating, and lastly, but certainly one of the most important is neighborhood security. The Detroit News just reported here in Michigan we had a 60% increase in assaults on police officers, with one of the fewest arrests and interactions with law enforcement we've seen on record. So this is a problem where we're surging in assaults against cops because we're not holding people accountable for their behavior, and yet we have fewer interactions with police overall.
No doubt. Tom, I'm sure you heard Joe Biden yesterday demagoguing about the state of our democracy, even though we're a republic, but that's a side point. Is that stuff going to work? I mean, is that effective how does that affect your race?
You know, I think people want to see us return to the seriousness of the issues that are affecting everyday Americans and our livelihoods. And it goes back to those 4 issues that I talked about. People can go to my website, tombarrettforcongress.com, and read about them. We call them our 4 pillars of security: national security, border security, neighborhood security, and economic security. The things that people care about the most as they sit around their kitchen table and make their decision as to who they're voting for Congress or for president.
A little bit about your background. You're a former state legislator, 22 years in the Army, from what I understand.
Yes,
and
sir. There
was a bit of a controversy in your race because your opponent, who's not a vet, went to a Veterans Day event and wore an Army jacket. Didn't say he was a vet, but sort of alluded to it. So your service certainly a big part of your campaign.
It is. It's something certainly that I'm proud of. And my opponent, shows up, prances around in another man's uniform on Veterans Day of all days, and tries to defend this by saying, well, civilians can buy this uniform, so it doesn't really count as stolen valor. Thankfully, a number of veterans in this district stepped up to call him out for that and hold him to task. I just think it represents, a lot of irony and hypocrisy to show up at a Veterans Day event wearing another man's uniform to somehow suggest that you're supporting veterans in that. There are plenty of other ways to support veterans. You can volunteer for a veterans organization. You can donate time or resources to something. You can help clean up a cemetery. There are plenty of ways to support our veterans without wearing another man's uniform on Veterans Day and projecting the image that you're a veteran when you're not. I think that's something that's a problem. And again, I'd love to get some help from folks today. If you go to my website, tombarrettforcongress.com, we can make sure that we hold to these principles and make sure that we prevail and help win back this majority in Congress next year and put the country back on the right track.
Well, the seat is Michigan's 7th district. This will not be the last time you hear about this race. Tom Barrett, thanks for your time and your service.
Pete, thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.